Good evening and welcome to this week's special assignment. I'm your host, Ashraf Garda. An uneasy peace hangs over the gang-ravaged suburb of Lavender Hill in Cape Town. But how long will it last before the next casualty in an ultimately unwinnable war? This is the first of a two-part investigation by producer Hazel Friedman.
June the 28th, 2012, a park in the Cape Town suburb of Steenberg. The Mackenzie family moved here from nearby Lavender Hill to escape the gang violence. This is where 8-year-old Junaid Mackenzie loved playing.
90D is sy bynaam. 90D, 90 90 kop, hy 90 skopbal so en hy het alles gedoen met hom. Hy was very nice. Hy lag met my. Hy maak my kwaad so op een tyd man. Hy's friendly, hy's lekker, hy's joyful, hy's playful.
Like most little boys his age, Junaid wanted to be a soccer star when he was older. But on that day, his dream was cut brutally, tragically short. Innocents caught in the crossfire, communities living in fear. Another ceasefire between warring gangs, then the battles resume, with more casualties in this as yet unwinnable war. For decades, the dormitory suburbs on the Cape Flats, the products of apartheid engineering, have been plagued by poverty, unemployment, drugs and gangs. But this year, the epicenter of the most violent conflicts has been Lavender Hill, whose brutal reality belies the sweetness of its name. Here, a community lives in constant fear of who will be next. We are at the Mackenzie home, where Police Minister Nathi Mthethwa and Police Commissioner Ria Pierre are offering condolences.
We were so surprised, you see, because wat ons wil 'n bietjie nou beter omdat die minister nou hier gewees het en daar was nou het gevat van die saak. You know, nou voel ons miskien nou ook hulle gaan bereken aan, but there's no arrest.
This year, 25 people have been killed by gang violence, 7 of them children. There have been calls to deploy the army as a short-term measure to stabilize the situation.
It's not a call from Dan Plato or Helen Zille. It's a call from the people on the ground. That is what the people are asking us. Meeting after meeting, it is their call.
The province's police say they have improved capacity to deal with the gangs. And during his July walkabout, Minister Mthethwa dismissed the army as an option.
This thing of having soldiers to come and shoot, what are you going to shoot here? It's not a playing matter. It's a matter which has to take into cognizance that the police themselves are doing a lot of work.
When we call for the engagement of the army, it is as a last resort, because we feel that the police and other law enforcement agencies just can't seem to get a handle, on the situation.
In fact, the army has been deployed as a short-term measure on several occasions in the past. In 1997 and then in 2002, when the ANC ruled the province at the request of Leonard Ramatlakane, who was then the province's head of community safety, and most recently in December 2011.
And immediately it had a positive impact and effect on the situation. And the police can then make use of the opportunity to do thorough investigations in terms of cases that are pending.
But behind these walls lives a community that no longer trusts the police to protect them, effectively patrol the streets and investigate the criminal economy. And just a few meters from where Mthethwa is conducting his walkabout is a little girl who knows all too well about fear and pain. This is 3-year-old Jesslyn Sentamu. She is paralyzed. Her spine was shattered and as a result she has osteoporosis, which means her bones keep breaking. In 2011, she was caught in the crossfire of warring gangs.
I went to buy a bread, and as I told the lady, give me a bread, the gunshots went off. But we didn't realize that she was shot at that time. So when they were finished shooting, her nanny gave her to me. And then when I put the stroller down, I saw her, she fell to the front. Then I saw the hole.
Over a year later, there has been no progress in apprehending those responsible.
I don't actually know where this case is. I don't have a case number. There was a police detective by me at the Red Cross the night she was shot. Then he came there. The only question he asked me was that, did you pick up bullet casings? I told him, what is bullet casings? Because I don't know what you are talking about.
I have asked the police before, why is it that, that they can't seem to get a handle on this. But I think it's a process. They're always talking about the fact that they're profiling people. And the question is, how long do you need to profile people when you are fully aware, of the existence of the people and the gangs, for years and years,
Therein lies the big problem, that the conviction rate amongst organized crime participants and people engaging in violent crime on behalf of organized crime syndicates is painfully and ridiculously low.
We provide all the names. SABs know who they are. They know where's the drug lords staying. They know who is involved in selling the drugs, who's the runners. My taking is, what is SABs and the justice system at large doing about the problem?
A widely publicized study released in 2006 paints a damning portrait of police members not merely turning a blind eye, but being actively complicit in gang-related crimes.
Go see at police stations how did guns get out of the safes without booking. You will find them, and we just hear recently that at the police station in Ravensmead, 9 guns get lost.
What we're not seeing is effective deployment of crime intelligence to catch the bad guys, to work your way up that food chain, and to start getting to their bosses that drive the violence.
Police has failed our people. As soon as they reckon to us that we are the ears and the eyes in the community, as soon as we give information, within the next 10-20 minutes, the people at the house, are you informer?
The issues of corruption just goes on and on and on, and nobody ever comes to you or comes to a meeting and says, this is what we've done about the issues. Can we really expect the community to come forward if the community doesn't trust the police?
In a moment, we learn more about a brotherhood sealed in blood.
Innocent children are in danger of becoming either victims of gang warfare or perpetrators. There are more than 150 gangs in the Western Cape, and their membership is getting younger.
The sophisticated gangsters, they don't live in our communities. They live in Constantia, Plattekloof, those areas. But those guys doing the killings today, causing the mayhem today, it is our kids, our youngsters, ranging from ages 13 years old to 20, 25 years old.
I have met a 14-year of a young man. He's 14 years of age. And he have killed a lot of people already. He have his own membership, monitoring and fathered by senior gangsters. So age is a really vast gap. I mean, I've been involved since I've been 13, but not like what I've seen now.
There are 4 major gangs involved in the Lavender Hill violence: the Mongrels, the Junkie Funky Kids, the Corner Boys, and the Boston Kids, and they all live within close range of each other. In this complex alone live the Mongrels, Junkie Funkies, and the Bostons.
Behind us, as you can see, we have a number of courts, and in those courts there are 3 gangs that reside in those courts. And so you can understand, the tensions that exist, amongst the gangs and the community, because these gangs are forever shooting at each other, and the potential for young people or innocent people to be caught in the crossfire is very high.
And in the middle of this war zone lives Jesslyn Sentamu. A year after she was shot, the trauma is as acute as ever.
4 weeks ago, when they shot the 2 guys dead here by our dirt bins, Jesslyn was in my sister's bedroom. I was in the kitchen and I was busy cooking. When I heard the gunshots, I left my food. I came to see where's Jesslyn. I found her in my sister's room, sitting, putting her hands by her chin. And that's when I got to know, no, she's shocked now. She's traumatized still.
She's my one and only kid that I've ever had. And it's all something I wouldn't want it to happen to anyone, because I know what I saw and how it happened. But it's all a pain, because for her, she wakes up almost every night. She cries of the pain and she pees in a tube. Pooping, it's like there's a time when she fails to poo, and we just see her sweating or getting the pain and having a fever. Then we have to rush her all the time to hospital to see what's going on with her. So it's not all easy. It's not something easy. You wouldn't know. It's not something that I would want someone to pass through.
A year later, the family has yet to receive counselling. And a couple of kilometres away, in Steenberg, the gangs have also destroyed more lives. The Mackenzie family has also not received counselling for their loss. Junaid's older sister, Shamila, has to keep it together for the sake of her family.
Ik moet net steek op, is het van mijn ma. Dat is al wat ik van mijn ma. Because ik is uit die geweest, was mal verrijken. Ik heb op groot gemaakt, ik heb school gelost dat mijn ma kan gaan werken. Om achter hem te kijken, hij is mijn boy.
And further along, in the nearby informal settlement of Hillview, 3,000 residents also live in fear. The gun-toting gangs run through the narrow alleys separating the shacks and hide among the dunes. So what strategy can be applied to protect the community?
There we're talking primarily about effective policing, partnerships with community safety entities, also neighborhood watches, and also with other community entities as well. And also for police regularly to come and report to my office with regard to policing matters and issues.
But neighbourhood watches cannot be effective without trustworthy partnerships with the police.
Our people's lives is in danger, and to have the neighborhood watch here, I know my people, my community, they will agree with it. But we need the police also visible, because we don't have the authority to search anyone.
You can see them riding over here. The shots is going down there, then they run that way. You know, they don't come here. When we all say also need to be in the ons kan niks maak.
We need professional people. You need specialized units to deal with certain issues, to intervene, to properly investigate, and to infiltrate gangster and drug turfs and trade. Currently, that is lacking.
The province's police declined to be interviewed for this story, so we don't know why they won't deploy the units. But we do know that specialized gang units were disbanded in 2002. And as this 1999 confidential report confirms, by then they were already compromised by poor police management and a lack of cooperation from SABC.
SABC chose a particular policing model that excludes specialized units, and they disbanded their specialized units, and with it lost a great deal of institutional knowledge. I think they made an incredibly big mistake. General public are paying for that mistake. They must bring the specialized units back.
Since December 2011, the city of Cape Town has established its own gang unit. But while it has racked up an impressive record of arrests, alongside with provincial SABC, its mandate is only restricted to arrests. It cannot conduct investigations that would lead to successful prosecutions and convictions.
Out of the first 108 arrests we did, they were all gang members, ranging from 26 Prisons Gang, Americans, Derwent kids, the Fancy Boys, Ghetto Kids, Junkie Funky Kids, Laughing Boys, a whole range of gang-related stuff for attempted murder, drug-related offences, murder, possession of illegal firearms, and then other things like intimidation, riotous behaviour, etc.
And the conflict between the province and national government on how to effectively police the hotspots is turning communities into collateral damage.
We're doing from the city side what we can. We can run up to a certain point and then our powers run out. The province has got very little power in this regard, no effective command and control over SABC. We must all be honest and say what we can do and what we can't do and where we're failing. To hide things and to pretend things are hunky-dory is not good enough.
When people are being killed, like they are at the moment, we cannot afford to glamorize these situations or try to use these situations to gain any kind of political mileage. We need to show some kind of resolve in the sense as government, and we need to put our kind of, political differences aside and look at what is it that we can do collectively to ensure the safety of our communities.
When all else fails, a terrorized community turns to faith. That comes up next.
The future of an entire generation is in danger of going up in smoke, ravaged by the scourge of drugs. The fight for supremacy over the drug trade is the cause of most gang-related violence. But what is the reason behind the recent, unprecedented upsurge in violence? Well, there are conflicting interpretations.
The police in this province, led by General Lamour, have been able to confiscate a lot of drugs in this very province. And because of that, the gangs have been fighting for a scarce resource, which are the drugs, and that's one of the major problems.
But research contradicts this view. Addiction figures and deaths from overdoses indicate that there is no shortage of hard drugs in the Western Cape. In fact, Cape Town is considered South Africa's drug capital.
At the moment, that there's so much drugs coming into the city that the city is reaching saturation point, and that it's becoming more difficult for the guys to sell. So each one's market is becoming more saturated, and therefore the territorial disputes are getting more aggressive, and that you'll see imminent expansion into the platteland with more of the activities into rural areas where your policing capacity is even more fragile.
For generations, gangs have been governed by a strict hierarchy and codes. A terrifying portrait is painted of a brotherhood sealed in blood by Ivan Waldeck, ex-gangster, now pastor.
You have to show your manhood, your power, your actions, that you are a really dependable member of any gang, which is loyal, who are a man of his covenantal word, say, I will die with you, I will do anything for you. So that is kind, and I will even kill for the number or for the group. There is a link between prison and gangsters outside. Continually, there will always be a link. Because if you became an American or you became whatever gang outside, hard living or whatever, you will always be attached. Even if you became a 28 or 26 or 27 in prison, you will always be attached. It's my brother in there. With the new technology, there are continually information coming and going. And some of instructions will come from prison. It's common sense.
And prison has become the main initiation camp for youths. They go in as juveniles or fransa and emerge as daughters or adults, hardened criminals eager to upgrade their rank and gain access to the inner circle or kring.
He's coming from his friends. There are 2 or 3 and they've been attacked. He went home, he get his gun, and he come back without acknowledging the high-ranking order. You see, so in some instances they are doing what they supposed to do to defend themselves for survival mode, or to go back in a revenge attack, and then afterwards he will tell his seniors.
Pastor Waldeck has been at the forefront of brokering several peace treaties between warring gangs in Lavender Hill, but the ceasefires themselves have come under fire.
You cannot allow them to tell you that we will have a ceasefire for 7 days, but the drug trade is going on. The drug trade is the problem.
The mission of myself and the mission of Western Cape Community Outreach is to stop the killings.
You know they are responsible for the violence in your area. Why not talking to them, engage with them to get them out of that mode?
I don't believe any ceasefire involving gangs lasts for longer than they need it to last. Until you convict persons and put them away, things will not change.
In Lavender Hill, a prayer tent has been erected for a broken community brought together by loss, fear and grief. Parents, children, siblings, when all else fails, only faith remains.
We do not bury any more people that are sick, that die of sickness, natural diseases. Most of our funerals around here is now with people that have been killed through violence.
In the past decades, hundreds have been killed in the crossfire, and still no closure for grieving families.
The police, they only was there once. They never came back again. That was in 2011. They never come back to us again, so we don't know what's happening or whatsoever.
Ik leef nog altijd in my verlies. As hulle skiet, so oor, dan val ek op die grond, dan sê ek, my kleinkinders, hulle moet lê. Want dan dink ek aan wat hulle my kinders geskiet het.
Community activists like Soraya Nordin gunned down at point-blank range.
She was a person who was fighting against crime. She came up against a lot of gangsters. I know of 2 occasions she told me personally that they actually put a gun to her head and they threatened her.
And just around the corner from this gathering of mourners, another peace treaty between the gangs, attended by pastors, imams, former gangsters, present gangsters, and possibly future gangsters. For how long will this one last?
Nothing is impossible with God. And if our heart is right to save our people, God will help us.
And in this tent, victims and gang members, all belonging to the same community, come together. Victims seeking safety, perpetrators redemption, all pleading for peace.
Onze gemeenskap het zeer gekry en dat hoort ik of even nou wat samen zijn ons gaat ons aan een vat die wat kans toe saving our community but ons wil guarantee dat die hele gaan nie weer skiet.
En dit is baie swaar vir my om vir 'n moeder wat 'n kind te verloor het en selfs even Anwar wat sy broer verloor het, Hassan, en selfs vir John wat sy broer verloor het, te kan vra vergifnis.
Forgiveness from a grief-stricken sister.
They don't know how it feels. En dat is wat ze van mensen kan zien ook. Maar ze zijn niet voelen, you will never know.
Forgiveness from a 3-year-old whose broken body will never heal.
They are all a bunch of liars. They say peace now. Look like the time when she got shot. There was peace. After that, I just hear pa, pa, pa.
Now, one can only imagine the ongoing trauma of a community constantly under siege by its youth. You can comment on this via Twitter, email or Facebook, and you can also tune in to my radio show that's on SAFM on Friday at 2:30 p.m. as we take the story further. Now, last week we brought you the disturbing tales of elderly women in Taung who have been raped by young men from the community old enough to be their grandsons. The show, predictably, was met with a lot of anger, and here are some of your comments that we received. Corna van Wyk wrote on Facebook, "It broke my heart to see what happens to our elderly. What's wrong with our country? Our grandmothers get raped when they should be honored, respected and looked after. Not this." And on Twitter, these strong views by Mokhalakhadim Gibiza, "We are breeding a sick society. The police are doing nothing to assist. Rural areas will end up being ghost towns." Well, that's it from me. Join us again next week when we point out the issues that matter.